And we have Ken Seymour, Mary Manso, and Stan Hausman in the
Okay, we are
panel.
live.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the January 20th edition of the Washington County Committee for Community Involvement. I appreciate all y'all showing up.
We're still letting a few members in.
Yeah, we're getting things set up here. So I really appreciate the attendees who are not panelists for coming to see this particular meeting. We are dealing with the conclusion of the community participation organization and the evolution of the citizen involvement part of the CCI. I'll recap briefly what's going on. Starting around the turn of the millennia, no, hold it, that's the wrong. It was the turn of the millennia into 2000, yeah. The CPO system was still being managed by the Oregon State Extension Service, which created and defined a public-facing, education-focused system. In 2016, the Extension Service was unable to continue funding staff, and so we went from an educational-focused management by the Extension Service to an administrative function managed by the County Administration Office. The County Administration Office never really understood or embraced the CPO program, and even though we had spent quite a bit of resource and created a transition plan, the County Administration Office ignored that and essentially starved the CPO system by lack of attention, lack of understanding, and for all intents and purposes, wounded us so badly that we now have essentially bled out everything we have. The county commissioners took a resolution and order crafted largely by county council and directed that the resolution and orders that define the program, RNO 80, 108, 80, and 8658, reflecting the years they were passed, and specified the new resolution order specifies they will be repealed, and a very few qualities of the new system were defined in the RNO, leaving most of the work to be done by the Office of Access and Opportunity over the next 6 or 7 months. What we do know is that the county commissioners do not want a system where people self-organize. They want to be able to assign leadership. They want to define the agendas, and they are reducing the number of CPOs from 14 that are geographically oriented to 4 that will that will correspond to the commissioner districts. Commissioner districts have so little meaning to the residents of Washington County as to be essentially meaningless. So it's coincidental that District 2, currently represented by Pam Treese, is essentially CPO1 and CPO7. So as District 2 becomes the sole community participation group for this area, it will reflect essentially CPO1 and 7. However, ALOA is divided between 3 different commissioner districts, and so the geographic cohesion that CPO6 used to have for ALOA will be divided between 3 commissioner districts. There's a lot to the new program that is currently unknown. And for the last 4 years, we have been anxiously waiting some degree of engagement to discuss what we think the program should have. That engagement, curiously, has never arrived. And it doesn't look like the future going forward is going to be collaborative. It looks like the county administration office will tell the community what the program is going to be with very little meaningful engagement, little to none. I am so disappointed in the county's approach to how they are dealing with this that there's very little point in me railing on about it since it's a foregone conclusion. There will be 4 CPOs corresponding to commissioner districts. They will set the agenda. They're going to cover county-wide issues. And if I was ever going to create a context for something that would be sort of universally uninteresting, it is county-wide issues. Not because it's not important, but because people have come to the CPO because there's a semblance of geographic coherence. And once that geographic coherence is gone, I will be very interested to see what kind of program is created that attracts an audience. And with 4 different citizen groups, and we are not calling them CPOs anymore, which community participation organization. We could discuss what a new name for the program would be. And Mary, in her testimony on January 6th, convinced the board to start considering a new name for the program so that it is not confused with the old citizen-focused group. We're going to wind up with a commissioner-focused group, as near as I can tell, going forward. Mary. Unmute.
I did a little digging today about the differences in community engagement versus civic engagement versus outreach. And as I see the new program, it will be outreach. There's no interest in engaging. They just want to present materials to the public. The decisions have all been made. Haven't we done a good job? Here's the information.
We could call it listening groups.
Yeah. Well, and to be to be honest, the county has needed to do outreach of this sort. And I expect that each county commissioner will be attending their every other month meeting. So that's the other aspect that's been defined in the current resolution and order, is that each commissioner district will meet every other month. So
that's an assumption, though.
That is an assumption. We don't know what the ultimate program will be. Is there anything else I want to say that I can say nicely? No. Fran, what do you have?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you or say thank you for the very objective lead-in that you did, the introduction. I thought that was excellent. And I, like many other CPO members, have invested thousands of volunteer hours over the years. And I'm very appreciative to you and Jim for carrying the baton through this really difficult time. I normally would have been volunteering and testimony, et cetera, but it's clear that the commissioners have burnt out, as you put it, burn us out. And all they had to do was just wait until there was just not enough momentum anymore, or drain the energy. I'm really sorry to hear this, and I still will bring this up at the state level because as this is written, the CPO program is intended to be at community level, and that in the cases of other districts that have put it onto the planning commissions. Those planning commissioners are elected officials, not appointed officials. And so the big question is whether this is even illegal and whether the state will withdraw their funds for the program if they don't meet those criteria. So
what funding does the state provide the program?
I thought that there was an allocation. Yeah.
Well, it comes from lottery funds for economic
let me find out.
development.
Let me be, like I said, I've been absent because
Okay.
I've just been so frustrated. But I
So-
will look into those two things. And my intent, by the way, is to write a letter to the governor as well, because I think this is something that the state needs to know about, because we're at this point with misinterpretation of Governor Kotek's statement about housing needs, et cetera. And with this kind of thing, this is going to be unchecked development throughout many counties, especially Washington County, because we are under great stress to build.
Yeah.
And now when you move all of these periods of the CPO and public participation, in the timelines of development applications, as well as the CPO system, you have a totally unchecked program. And I don't think that was what our state really intended. So
Well,
I will carry the baton that way.
I mean, House Bill 2590 was on the docket last year, charging the Citizen Involvement Advisory Committee portion of DLCD to look at Goal 1 and talk about public participation. That bill was never approved, but it acknowledged that Goal 1 and public participation needed a refresh in its definition and style of implementation. The new housing mandates from the state have eliminated most opportunities for public participation and involvement. I see that Sherwood has just passed an initiative that challenges some of the state's ability to dictate things, but I don't know how that will pan out. Let me see. So we're dealing with two moving pieces here, and I see your hand up, Mary. The two moving pieces are the CCI provides a sort of leadership support group for the leaders in the community. That's one part. The other part is we satisfied the Goal 1 requirement for participating in land use planning, which is being moved to the Planning Commission. Although there's been insufficient coordination between OAO and LUT to know how that will look. And I have a slide I'll share with you later that shows what might happen. So Mary.
One of the things that I'd like to throw into the mix is the work that the planning work LUT is doing at this point through the community development assessment. The TAC committee will be meeting tomorrow, but there are a number of things that are being considered. Things like the developers are saying that neighborhood meetings are too much trouble. THPRD says we would rather use our own method for communicating with the public. We don't want to have the cost of a neighborhood meeting. They're
Well,
looking
what does that
at
mean? When THPRD goes to do a development, they don't want to use the neighborhood meeting process. Okay.
There's talk about making revisions to the type 2 process that I think would actually, there's a big effort to streamline and to simplify things. So it's moving pieces right now, but I would like to spend some time later on in the meeting going through my list of concerns. So
I don't have a clear way on how to approach this. So I'm going to share the diagram that I have. Mary and I have gone over it a little bit. Okay. So on the left is the current structure of the Planning Commission. Long-range planning sets the agenda, the Planning Commission responds, and there is a brief public comment period. On the right, we've added community planning along with long-range planning. And at the bottom, we have the commissioner district leaders. Whatever the program is called, it is not a CPO. And the commission, the district leaders will still do long range. And so this is one of the things that the resolution and order has not clarified, that it falls to OAO to define. And how are citizen comments on long range planning going to be facilitated since the Planning Commission right now does not have any real serious mechanism to do that. And so I stuck into it in the middle here, the Public Engagement Committee. And this mirrors Hillsborough's Planning Commission's structure, that the Planning Commission reports to is directed by Hillsborough's planning, but they have a committee that faces the public. And so in the absence of any coherent structure offered by the county to date, I'm providing this to you. So that long-range plan review here would, would be, there would be a, like we do in the CCI now, there would be an opportunity to review the transportation system plan, the community development code update, the policies and procedures, the comprehensive plan. And then through that engagement committee, those long-range planning issues would be shared with the Planning Commission. Let me get through this, Virginia, and I'll take your question. The district leaders, of the 4 commissioner districts, would still receive, I'm assuming, land use development application issues that they would share directly with community planning. And also that opens up a venue for community planning to handle public comments and issues. And Teresa Cherniak visited us a month or two ago and explained what community planning does. And right now, community planning relies on the CPO leaders to front end all of the issues people have with development applications in their neighborhood. And then we either direct them, or on occasion, we spearhead addressing those issues. The transitional housing being proposed on Cornell and CPO 1 and 7 is an issue, a type of issue that that community planning will need to figure out a vehicle for responding to. This is one of the aspects of the new system that has yet to be specified. So the district leaders that will be assigned by the county will somehow be expected to take part in land use, in long-range planning review, and in dealing with development application issues. With that, Virginia, what do you got?
I got 2 questions. The first, well, 2 issues. The first one is, how does Hillsborough select that public engagement committee?
A big pardon? I don't know.
Okay. But the biggest question is, there's no point in gathering public opinion on stuff if there's no mechanism for letting them know what's going on.
And people, well, that would be done ostensibly at the bi-monthly commissioner meeting.
Yeah, but when you've got like a 3 or 4 week window for approval of a development, that's not going to work very well.
Well,
And are they going to maintain the mailing lists and just send out development applications to the members of each of those commissioner districts, or what? I mean, for me, their information is the critical element in public engagement. There's no point in doing it unless there's a way to let people know what's really going on and what the issues are. And that's been one of our most important roles. And that's totally unclear to me how that's going to proceed.
well, it's totally unclear to everybody how that's going to proceed. You got a second? You muted.
Sorry. The first question was how that public engagement committee would be selected, or how it was done in Hillsborough.
Okay.
Public
well,
information part is my biggest concern.
The way that this diagram depicts it is a best guess. And it looks like the district leaders would be expected to take an active role in what we call the Public Engagement Committee. This is just a suggestion, and it might be comprised of the district leaders and citizens that are interested in the Planning Commission, but haven't been assigned as official members of the Planning Commission yet.
It seems to me like you could add one more box underneath the BCC district leaders, which is community members.
Well, and I had that, except that the way this diagram assumes that the district leaders would receive input from the community. But yeah. And my slide was jammed up and
already crowded.
Yeah. And then also public comments and issues on the very right-hand side, this thing here, allows for people to weigh in on all sorts of issues that affect them. But
still, there's not a good mechanism for letting them know what's going on.
Well, anyway, no, there isn't.
And smog that enough.
Well, yes, and I'm sure that somebody who is responsible for this is taking notes on issues. But the absence of collaboration in this process has driven me further into frustration than I have ever been with the program. So on that note, Jim, what do you got?
I unmuted. Can you hear me yet?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I have a lot of things to say about this. Last week, our Land Use Significant Natural Resources Committee met, and we had a couple of motions there. There's many things to talk about here. I don't know. I don't want to comment on the diagram you had there, Bruce. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think Hillsborough is necessarily the best model to follow. But for the sake of tonight, I'm going to call it appointed participation organizations, just because that's what the change would be. It wouldn't be necessarily organically coming out of the community. Second point is, when they first put this on their agenda in December, they did not have a public hearing scheduled. They were just going to approve it. I asked for public hearings. I've asked for public hearings in the morning and in the evening. We got one in the morning, but the evening one has not happened yet. What the Commissioner Fye was very supportive of hearing from the community, and some of the others were a little bit not so much. They ended up putting it on the consent agenda. So on the 27th, Tuesday the 27th, a week from today, it'll be on the consent agenda in an evening meeting. And our Significant Natural Resources Land Use Committee had made a motion that we ask that it be pulled off the consent agenda. One very clear reason is so that we can see how people vote on it. because if it's a consent agenda, they're going to be going through 8 or 9 topics, and they'll approve the whole thing all at one fell swoop. Whereas there might be a commissioner or two that's more supportive of what we want to see. Um, the we wanted to secure access, obtain and secure access to the CPO membership mailing list, because otherwise we don't have much. I mean, if we're going to be separate groups, if we're going to secede, if our group that has been meeting for decades is going to continue, we need to have some sort of mailing list. So we suggested it come off the consent agenda, and what they're going to be doing there is, at this time, since it's not scheduled as a public hearing, the only time to talk before they might approve it will be in the oral comments before the meeting. And they're only going to allow 10 minutes of oral comments. So they're only going to allow 5 people 2 minutes apiece. So that's the opportunity that we have there to make some comments on it. Although, of course, writing letters and calling your commissioner and letting them know what you think would be helpful also. So our committee also wanted to continue with our evaluation. We were going to do an evaluation as to how effective the county-run CPO program has been over the last bit of time. So another question we had is, what will happen to our CCI subcommittees? Will they continue? Will the Significant Natural Resources Committee continue? And of course, the big thing is oversight. For example, our CPO4M has done a bunch of oversight on the county and the city violating their own community development codes. And for example, when we found that happening truly with the development in the Metzger area regarding wildlife habitat, we challenged it, appealed it, and it made a big impression. It had an effect. So that's what oversight can do. And if development applications are going to come out that have something to do with a significant natural resource area, how will we know about it? Are we still going to be getting them? And so there's lots of questions to be asked. And as you said, Bruce, at the beginning, the resolution and order that they have now has no details. It just says the county administrative office is going to make decisions on it. And of course, from our perspective, the citizens are supposed to be involved in every part of the planning process. So we ought to be, in some ways, demanding to be part of that process. I mean, it's been going on for years, but now we're getting down to the nibbies here, and we want to have some better input into that. I'll stop there for a while. Thank you.
If I thought that the county was going to operate differently than it has been, I would be willing to entertain this. But I think that the county council has laid down the law and is creating a strictly administrative group for the public-facing component. As you said, the taking the issues that the Significant Natural Resource Committee have and connecting them to the Planning Commission somehow is a question that is being worked, but we won't know what that is until the program is announced in the fall. And it just blows my mind that after so long of being engaged, that we're simply not being engaged anymore. The resolution order has one little bullet that says it directs staff to do everything needed to implement these half-baked ideas. So, okay. So, Richard, what do you got?
Well, from my perspective, the commissioners, ever since Andy Dyke went away, don't want to hear from us. They want to go their own way. They don't want any suggestions. That's why they're getting rid of us.
Stan, what do you got? Jim, lower your hand so I'm not.
We're
Thanks.
in the way. That's been the product of the CPO program, the CCI program. Though that was never the intent. We were supposed to be partners. We were always to partner with our local representatives and county and cities even. So I just really wish we could have a refresh of the entire program from way back when, because I don't think any of these commissioners, any of them, really knew the beginnings and the purpose and the point and all of this of why we are here. We are still the experts in our neighborhoods, in our communities, more than anybody in the county, state, whatever. And I think we need to impress upon them that we're trying to help, not be a cause of their discontent or frustration or halting the developers and that type of thing.
Thank you. Virginia, what do you got?
I think that you're putting too much onto the county council. I think that that is just simply the legal excuse. I agree with Jim and Stan and Dick that we've been in the way of the progress that the county wants to make to develop everything and to satisfy their campaign donors. And that the public meetings law were just jumped on as a great excuse and a legal reason to get rid of us. So that's all I want to say.
So I would like to invite other members of this august group to weigh in with your thoughts. So in no particular order, what do you think?
I think that discussing the past isn't going to really be good use of everybody's time. You've done a great job of summarizing, and a lot of us have chimed in here. I think that Jim had a good point that what do we do? Where do we go from here? And that's about the only thing we can do is what constructive measures could we take, if anything? We've all spent thousands of hours educating our neighbors and community. And so is it possible, do we have the energy to continue that? Personally, I don't feel that the county staff has added that much to our program. I mean, there are a few things for sure, but a lot of what's the essence of our contributions have been to keep, what we call it, kaposh rumors. I want to explain, educate people about the laws and things that are relative to them. What's it mean to you? I think that's where we're all coming from, about the localization rather than the community-wide. How does this affect you on your street, in your house? That's what people care about. And all the rest of it is, yeah, that's great. They can have all the rest of that to deal with as a county-wide, but it's the localization was the whole point of our originate. And do we want to continue that localization? That's my 2 cents.
And that's something that Philip Bransford rather blithely just said, that they've studied different administration, different municipalities' way of satisfying goal 1, and they use the Planning Commission, which ignores the fact that 1/3 of Washington County's urban population lives in an unincorporated area. So the CPOs provided a community-focused local perspective on things. And that function is completely lost on 3 of the 5 commissioners. Nafisa Fai certainly was aware of the local impact, and Pam Treese complimented CPO 1 and 7 on what we've been doing. But the resolution and order that came out that we're discussing makes no acknowledgement to the fact that this will leave the 200,000 people in the unincorporated area without any coherent gathering force. And it kind of, I'm going to share the commissioner districts. CPO or District 4 goes from the Beaverton city limits, include Hillsborough, Forest Grove, Cornelius, Banks, North Plains, and Gaston. So, and then also when you look at the intersection between 1, 3, and 4, it divides Aloha into 3 pieces. So any geographic cohesion is lost in the new system, because things important to Hillsborough are not those things that are going to be important to Banks. So let's see what we got. I think Isla, you had your hand up next.
Oh, I think Mary was before me.
Ayla. Oh, Mary. Okay.
And I say amen to that, Bruce. District 4 needs to get rid of Hillsborough.
Well,
Can't get my computer to do what I want it to do. It's doing what I'm telling it to do rather than what I want it to do. So one of the things I've been doing, because I think OAO staff has no idea about what CPO leaders do besides have monthly meeting. I think in their mind that is the role we play as CPO leaders. So what I've been doing is, you know, you get random emails from people who live in your CPO or, you know, neighbors or whatever. You respond to their comments. I've been copying staff on those. And at one point, everything got passed on to Stephen Roberts, because it's like, you know, their current planning issues. Who's going to deal with this? Is this something that LUT is going to handle? And he sent the message back to me and said, no, that's going to be OAO, and it's going to be the citizen group that handles those issues. But, you know, I think, you know, as Bruce has said, you know, we'll just have Planning Commission take over CCI, easy peasy, problem solved. It isn't easy peasy. There's a lot of detail that is pretty important detail. And certainly I hope we can help educate OAO about what we do beyond the monthly meetings. So I encourage people to copy ICA. You don't agree, Virginia?
No, I think you're giving too much of the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that OAO is taking its marching orders from anyone but administration. And
Well,
their
Cindy,
lack of understanding is irrelevant. They do understand, as far as the commission is concerned, they understand that it's a burden on the various agencies that we ask to give their time for our meetings. And it's a burden on the speed of the development process to have neighborhood meetings and educated neighbors interfering in the process. I think you give them too much of the benefit of the doubt.
okay. Ayla.
Well, I agree with everything people are saying here about This is really stirring the pot. Even that diagram makes me get dizzy, which way are the arrows really going and which day of the week. The more we degenerate into appointed positions, the less representation we will have. And quite frankly, we need to have it go the absolute other direction. Planning Commission, half the year it has been canceled. Okay, at least 6 Planning Commission meetings have been canceled, and that's for a reason. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want the public to even get a whiff of either what they haven't done or what they are doing. They've removed even the criteria of how many people can be in the same profession on the Planning Commission. They're going to just let it be realtors. What if they got a homeowner association manager? You know, these people haven't a clue about all of the work that we dive into in our neighborhoods to bring education to the people. I think one of our primary definitions of what CPOs do is educate. And that is a huge threat to them. They don't want people to understand type 1, 2, and 3 and all of the other things that we know. I mean, this is thousands of years of knowledge sitting on this screen. And all of you are so amazing. To lose this is just sad. And if they're going to cherry pick out of us a token person or two to be put on the Planning Commission so that now we all feel like we're represented is a joke. And these county commissioners, they don't have the education we do. They're not going to manage their districts properly. Their districts aren't even, like you said, geographically coherent. They don't make sense. And basically, they're just going to be responsible if anything goes wrong. Somebody's going to get spanked if they didn't kibosh it and put their thumb on something in time and stop, a real referendum or whatever that could happen, like in the case of North Plains. So they are just going to be our babysitters, and they're going to, like you said, dictate the narrative from the top down. And it'll all just be checking a box, and we get 2 minutes at a commissioner meeting, and that's all you get. I mean, they even tried to destroy group testimony stuff. We should be going the opposite direction. Every commissioner meeting ought to have a 10-minute window always saved for any CPO that needs to come in a timely fashion. So where I want to take it, they don't like it. And so I don't know. We need to get adopted, I think. That's it.
Thank you. I got to say that having any stake in the ground as to what the county wants is kind of a relief, because I kept feeling like Charlie Brown trying to kick the football that Lucy, the county, was holding, and every time we went to kick it, they'd move it. And 4 years of that is long enough. I want to kick the damn football. So, Virginia.
It's been 16 years.
First
Yeah.
of all, before I forget, I believe that CPO leaders get 5 minutes at the beginning of a commissioner meeting, and I don't think they've repealed that yet. So that's just something to keep in mind. But next steps, the only logical next step is for us to form a nonprofit organization, which is, what I was saying during the transition, but I wasn't a member of the committee because I didn't want to bang my head against a brick wall. But I don't have the energy. I don't think many of our older group have the energy to start up a new nonprofit. We'd certainly be supportive, but if some of the younger members of this group are inspired, that's the only way we can go. And we can maybe look to one of our educational institutions to be a sponsor, or what. But if we want to have some way to continue to be of service to our local our local neighbors, it seems like that's the way to go. It isn't hard technically to form a nonprofit, but the difficulty is in selecting a board that's going to maintain the purpose, writing up the articles and bylaws that's going to facilitate something like a viable organization. But, if we're going to talk about next steps and not moan about what's gone before us, I think that's where we need to work on it.
Thank you. Dick, what do you got? And we would know if you unmuted.
There we go. CPO 10 has already decided we're going to continue with community meetings every month. We have free use of the Grange Hall in Kenton, and we're going to continue to meet and talk over our local issues and try to present them where it'll do the most good.
How are you going to stay in touch with those folks? Are you
yeah.
asking them to give you their email so that we can continue that way?
Sure, I'll be happy to. We haven't ironed out any of the kinks yet, but
so here's Dick, here's the wrinkle, that the county is willing to host CPO meetings in February and March.
right.
The timeline says there will be a countywide CPO meeting in April that we're sort of expected to attend. So CPO 10 has support by the county for 2 more meetings.
Yep.
And then you fall off a cliff.
No, we're just going to continue having our meetings.
But how do you get the word out? How do you announce an agenda?
We'll work that out during these
Okay.
next couple of months. That's
Okay.
our plan. And we've just decided to continue. We enjoy the meetings.
Yeah.
It's a nice get together. We're all neighbors out here. We have all of each other's phone numbers, email addresses. We're a lot more community than the urban unincorporated, because we're a smaller number of people. We cover a hell of a lot more area, and a lot of our issues don't fit with the urban unincorporated people that live on a city street anyway. So that's why I haven't been to CCI a lot, is our issues don't fit with what most of the CCI groups' objectives are anyway. We don't give a hoot about whether there's a sidewalk continuous or not, because we don't have any.
Hey,
You
I got a
guys don't
question.
care. You guys don't care about well issues.
I do too.
Now, Richard, we have to care.
We do. So a question for you. When CPO 10 members go to the library, what library do they go to?
I go to Hillsborough.
Hillsborough Library. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I've checked out about probably 40 books last year, something like that. I use it. But we're so privileged to be able to have a nice building to meet in.
Oh, yeah.
With no cost, and whenever we want. So, we're really lucky that way.
And your chair, Andy Haugen, has done a really bang-up job of creating interesting agendas.
Yes, he has.
The one that he crafted for the Center for Addiction Triage and Treatment, the CAT, where you had 4 members of the team presenting, was a stellar meeting that was advertised to all of the CPOs. And so, that is a model for what the new system could do, is it could take a complex issue like the CAT institutions and put one really good presentation together and provide it to the entire county. Now, the new system on one per commissioner district, at the surface with this level of thinking would require that presentation to be given 4 different times or record it once and then just play the recording back, which is not as good as allowing
No.
interaction.
It's not. And again, the beauty of the Grange Hall is that it's a large building. We could host almost all the CPOs at a meeting there.
Yeah.
They've got a screen for presentations.
Yeah.
It's a lovely situation.
Granges are incredibly valuable community assets. In Cedar Mill, we have the Leedy Grange, and CPO1 met at the Leedy Grange for a few years. And so as we evolve new systems in parallel but separate from the county, the Grange ecosystem is something worth investigating.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Mary.
Bruce, I don't want to split hairs, but the CAT presentation was generated from CPO 7. One of the facilities was actually in our CPO, and we're a little irked still with OAO because they insisted that no, we couldn't have it in our CPO. It needed to go somewhere else. It had to go to CPO 10 because they don't do Zoom meetings. So yeah, little bit of sore feelings there on our part, but
Well,
it was
thank you.
something that was generated, a request from our CPO.
I would never expect you to leave a hair unsplit, Mary.
Well, thank you, Bruce.
That's why we're comrades. Okay,
Right,
so
we count on it.
I would like the floor to anybody else who has any thoughts, big or small, on this subject.
So I did have one little daydreamy idea a while ago. Sorry if I jumped ahead.
No, jump in. You got it.
There. What about a ballot measure? I mean, they're able to get rid of the program because other than the goal 1 requirements is otherwise at the county level, no requirement.
Right.
A ballot measure has the force of some law, a little, and it could say required to have, a program on par with what it was, at the point in time of the extension service managing it, and budget commensurate with that. But I don't know, step 1 about what such a process would take. There are those out there who do.
Would that be a county ballot measure?
Yeah, it would have to be a countywide one, which we don't have many of those, but they exist.
Well, the Washington County Library levy was countywide.
Well, it'd be similar to the Sherwood measure that you asked, I believe.
Levies and bonds are countywide, but as far as absolutely, legislative measures, very rare. Interesting, though.
It is. Ayla.
What I was going to say is that I'm with Jim on the fact that we need to claim the master email list that OAO has for every single person. We need to consolidate all our members, even if they don't really participate. If they're on our list, we need to get a comprehensive list so that we can try to be one voice as much as we can to make a ballot. I think it's a great idea. Obviously, those kinds of things are generated out of the county administration when the county needs something. So for us to do it in an opposite direction, grassroots people of a county needing a ballot to go out, and we have to pay for it, it's going to take funds and some some attorney language.
So
probably going to cost money. But it's
So
okay, we can do it.
we could, yeah. A couple of comments. Beaverton keeps their NAC email list private from the NAC leaders. So this is not an unusual structure. And if you go to the CPO sign up page on the county, in the fine print at the bottom, it simply says that by signing up to receive the agenda, that you agree to receive emails from the Land Use and Transportation Department. And they don't receive emails from Land Use and Transportation, they receive it from the Office of Equity and Opportunity, Outreach or whatever. And so there is nothing in the sign up agreement, fine print sign up agreement, that says that you will not be contacted by anybody else. So it would be worth trying. Having requested that list previously and having the door slammed shut in my face, I can't believe that at this point that the county is going to share it.
And I don't even
as-
think they'd allow us to announce in one of our newsletters for people to send us their emails. They wouldn't allow that.
or to go to a website to sign up for a sort of
Whatever
ad
our
hoc.
successor's gonna
I
do.
mean, but that is something that I mean, that's the kind of thing that keeps me from just resigning this chair position, is that we may have ways of creating an interconnected community, that if we stay engaged with the county, we can get. If we don't stay engaged, we won't get.
Is that information available through a public records
Record request?
request?
Well, we could certainly find out. I went to get the list of names of the people who agreed to be contacted by CPO leaders, not by the county, and that request was categorically rejected, that we cannot have access to that list, CPO by CPO. So that is
Who
sort of a
said that?
hard,
Who said that to you, Bruce?
that was the county administration office.
Which person?
It was a group, it was
County
an official.
administration.
Has anyone recently received any communication from a neighbor that was supposed to go through OAO? I mean, we used to get a few emails forwarded when citizens were confused about something and wanted to, hear from their CPO leader.
I have not. Has
Anyone
anybody
got it?
received anything from OAO about a citizen asking a question that got referred back
It's
to
been about a
CPO?
year for me.
Never.
Well, I used to get them, but
Yeah.
it's been about a year.
No, as a matter of fact, lots of members, even the former commissioner, he had said he has not been getting invites, and has not been getting agendas, has not been getting notice of meetings. We have people here in CPO4M who have not been getting email or snail mail announcing meetings, so that's diminishing our whole possibility.
Yeah.
Now, if I can go ahead,
Sure.
I would like to make a motion or two or three that the CCI take a stance on some of these things. I suggest, of course, attendance at the January 27th meeting next week at this time. I suggest that we have that CCI officially request the resolution and order come off the consent agenda, so that we can get it on record and find out where people are talking, how people are talking about it, and who's voting one way or another. We want to get it on the record. I think the public records request for the names and addresses would be an important thing. I think we'd like to coordinate our testimony during this oral comments. If we only have 5 people speaking for 10 minutes, we could ask for more, but we need to coordinate what time we have there. We believe at the SNR Land Use Committee, we suggest asking them to delay their R&O decision until an evaluation is complete and new commissioners are in office for there to be public hearings. We're concerned, of course, about what will happen to the committees. So those are some of the things I think that we could put in a letter to request that would be helpful. We need to get some things on the record now here at this point. I know it doesn't look great for us to move forward in a lot of ways, but we should at least follow our mission, which is to encourage and empower citizen participation. So we should let that guide us in requesting this information that we have and that we need. And I guess the other thing would be that we totally stay involved through the process, have at least 1 or 2 or 3 people involved with the county administrative office throughout this process for the next 5 or 6 months as they come out with a new system that they're going to start in the fall. Anyway, I think we ought to have a motion. I know I raised a lot of issues there, so I can define that into a simple thing, but let me hear you talk about it. Thanks.
Eric, what do you got?
I'd like to share that in approximately 2011, I successfully did a public records request from Oregon State University, who was in the care, custody, and control of the CPO6 mailing list. It was the OSU's, the college's attorney's determination that it was to be released to my CPO and to me at zero cost because it was considered a public record. There is that precedence. Whether or not that is currently sustained in the climate and change is to be determined. That was accomplished through a public records request using the open-oregon.org, I think is the URL, public records request automatic letter generator. Judson Randall was a professor at Portland State University School of Journalism, and he created that tool. And it is essentially a bulletproof tool that should give you near automatic access to any public record unless you're dealing with the approximately 459 excluded records. So I have that email with that large attachment, and it would be interesting to put that information along with another public records request. Say, for example, CPO-X requests their list. It was delivered to CPO-6 on this date. Why will you not give this to me? What is the new exclusion is the question I would ask if I was an attorney. I'm not an attorney. I'd like to close my comments out with a rhetorical question followed with a comment. And the rhetorical question is, why would we ever waste a good emergency? The emergency I see coming is that we are changing the way that the citizen engagement landscape has operated for some time, 50 years possibly. And I think that the county is going to be in such a state of a flux that if they get a major dust up, they may not be able to handle the pushback. And I could see where the county may want to actually reactivate or significantly modify their new CPO program in a way that would welcome us back or open new doors. So I don't necessarily think that this is gloom and doom or the end of the world. I actually see that this is opening up new risks for the county, and I think they're largely well aware of them. My metaphor for discussion is this. My closing comment is I look at the county viewing the CPO as a nasty Band-Aid, and they want to rip this festering Band-Aid and which is all fine and good. Yet this exposes a wound to fresh air, and there's no boundary between external trauma and the wound if you remove the Band-Aid. So this kind of winds up my metaphor of never waste a good emergency, because I think the county may be in pain from feeling contact with the citizens that the CPOs otherwise did some buffering from. And I think that was one of the things that I'm proud to have done, is moderated the pain from the public at CPO6. Thank you for entertaining my comments, and I'm gonna mute now.
Thank you, Eric. Mr. Hausman.
It is always so hard to follow Eric, and I have always, always regretted.
Well, I could let Rob go next.
You could, but I'm not going to give up
Okay.
the microphone right quite yet. There's something that about next door that more probably 2 decades ago, after had become the admin for the garden home area for next door,
Oh,
that they opened up the program so that city or the county and or the state could send anybody that was on next door a message, information, that type of thing. And that's what you see if you are uh, on next door. You get these announcements here and there and so forth and so on. It at that time it required that you had to be part of some um, mm, organization that was the city, county, state type thing. Uh, mm, I'm I opened this in that I'm wondering if because they're allowing advertising all over the place, is that perhaps there's an alternative if we're doing something volunteer wise that is for the good of the communities and that type of thing, that perhaps we could send out messages in our collectives areas to engage the community. So I just wanted to add that into the mix.
next door is an intriguing venue.
Every day in every way.
Yeah, kind of a messy world. A lot of civic ignorance in next door, but
Oh, yeah, I don't argue that, but
okay.
it's a way to get a messaging out.
Okay.
And Facebook is another one, is developing the Facebook pages so that they reflect our communities.
Let's put a bookmark there. Okay, Rob, Mr. CPO3, what do you got?
You're on mute.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry about that. Well, thanks, Bruce, for all your hard work around this and everyone else. Um, yeah, I totally agree with Stan. We probably get as much attendance from our posts on social media and announcements as we do from the countywide mailings. And, I have mixed feelings about this, especially as it is, certainly designed to limit our access to the county decision making. But, even at best with the current system for our particular CPO, unless we have, that single cause that everyone gets energized and mobilizes around, our attendance for the most part has been somewhat paltry. And, how do we, and some of it's generational. And we're always looking, how can we engage, more people and get them excited about, some of it is, pretty big deal environmental stuff that has a huge impact on the neighborhood. So to tail on what Eric says, maybe, we can really look at this as an opportunity. I don't, necessarily disagree with, paring down the number of meetings per se, or, consolidating, as long as we don't lose some effective representation. If we had, outreach subcommittees in these, 4 larger committees or 4 larger districts, to where we could bring up, more local issues that mattered and get them to that upper level. And from, personal standpoint, we've had the good fortune of having Commissioner Fye involved in our CPO, and she's been, super responsive. and has been really helpful in us getting some things that we need. And so, having that more regular access to the commissioners on a steady basis, I don't see as a bad thing.
No,
So,
I agree that we've needed that.
yeah,
And getting the commissioners in front of people on a regular basis would be a value of the new program.
Yep.
Are you complete?
Yep, that's enough out of me.
Okay. Ayla.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I did like about the new model is that the commissioners were going to be responsible to be there,
We don't
not
know
have
that
to
for
wait for an
sure. We're
invitation.
we're assuming
Well,
that the
no, he said,
commissioners,
no, they said that they would be there every meeting, and that's why we have to go to every other, because if I didn't understand it right, but it sounds like because of Ika's schedule, she can only go, to so many meetings a month, 4. So
too.
that's why things were getting 2 a month. So yeah, it was going to get parsed out like that based on the required attendance. So I think that's great to have the commissioners have to be there.
Well, yeah, I want to caution that we don't have that in writing, and I have not heard a clear statement that the commissioners will anchor each of the bi-monthly meetings that is
That's
proposed.
what I heard at the work session. I know we were both there, but
It wasn't a
so
clear,
yeah,
unambiguous statement. It was sort of laughingly, ha ha ha,
I
kind of.
see.
I don't trust it.
I do think that perhaps, making our own website and being independent, but we do need somebody to administer the website,
Well,
and update it.
I mean, you're in a
But
position to talk about the Washington County Community Action Network, WCCAN.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's something out there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but I know that we could probably do a better job than the county perhaps in making sure everybody knows what you're doing for the month, so that, like, there was some discussion that there's a lot of repetition in our CPOs. Well, yes and no. I mean, we all do our sheriff report, but that's local. And we have our fire departments come and speak to us, which is local. But there's other things like, like when you did the addiction and new center, that's something that we all should pay attention to. Or like with Richard, I did a big thing on water.
Hmm.
Um, and so we actually could save and consolidate some of our effort and time and creativity by picking different areas, subject matter, like we always have Mary Lou and Fran with the trees and urban forestry, and Jim with significant natural resource. I mean, we could start identifying ourselves in different areas and saying, look, we have 12 months of the year. What topics would we all like to see available to everyone that's about our county? And then, as unique issues come up, we're going to have to find a way to get noticed. Because, I mean, when you do your taxes, you get that little thing in there. It says, if you want to know about land use issues within 500 feet of your property, fill this out and we will send it to you. Well, I don't get any, and I've always filled that out. So I think it's a faulty system. And the
I'm curious,
CPOs,
with CPO 14, you are served by the bank's fire department, are you not?
well, we have several. North Plains is served by TVFD.
Yeah,
Forest Grove has its own fire department,
right.
and so does Gaston.
And
Mhm.
who's provides fire and rescue for banks?
Oh, we have the best fire department in Oregon. Thanks, fire department.
Okay,
We love
so
our fire department. And
CPO
they
14 already
huge.
has reports from the city of Banks in your meeting.
We have a representative from the city and we welcome it. And the
Yeah,
city mayor wants it that way.
yeah.
She wants to have a city councilor be responsible to be the communicator to the CPO, just like they get assigned when somebody gets assigned to the school or to the fire district, the library. Each of our city councilors has one or two things that they put a different hat on to stay connected with in the community. And our mayor said CPO was important and they wanted to have that liaison. And I think as the county is saying we're not supposed to, so I think it's one of the benefits of not being under the county umbrella that we could work more closely with our cities and in unincorporated areas for that matter.
One of the interesting aspects of the proposed system is that there isn't a concept of membership, which in a previous proposal had cities not in the CPOs, which was a completely unworkable pretext. But in the new system, whether you're in a city or out of a city, you are in the commissioner district that will be served, by this new program. So I think that is a valuable aspect. So Virginia, what do you got?
There are several people in the panel who haven't spoken yet, and I'd like to call out Mary Lou, Paul, Nancy, and Barbara in case they have something to say.
Wait, I just have a really quick comment about something was just said.
Sure.
You bet.
Okay. I'm on the board for the WC Can.
Yeah.
And that does seem like a viable possibility, other than our president has gone a little bit rogue and I'm a little bit nervous about it. So Dale Fike is the president, and he attends every board meeting.
He does.
Right. So it is a 501c3 and all that, and it has a lot of the features. The only thing we want to do is just be careful about having people in the leadership role who have their own agenda. So, okay, I'm on the board, so, okay. Anyway.
Well, that's good. I've realized that I really don't have a dog in this fight, personally, other than trying to create a resilient culture. So, Ms. Mary Lou, what do you got?
Okay, so Fran and I are on the board of directors of Tree Keepers of Washington County, and of course, our main focus is to try to preserve trees in the unincorporated areas of Washington County, for which there is no protection at the moment. And so, my thing is that I worry about the demographic here. I have time. I'm retired. I was a teacher for years, but I've been retired for years too. So I've had the time to get involved with organizations like this one. And I just worry that the younger demographic is so busy with trying to pay the bills and trying to stay on top of their lives that they don't recognize how important this type of thing is. And I don't know, I do not know how you get that information out to people who are so busy just trying to live. But there is some value in creating a nonprofit. So I know that takes organization. I know it takes legal stuff. It takes time. But if we want to be important at all, we're gonna have to step up. That's all there is to it. Whatever you care about the most, you just have to make time, I guess. You just have to decide that you're going to make time. Because I worry tremendously about the state of the whole country. We have people who are just completely so far out of touch with, government and what's going on, that we cannot lose the opportunity to have this public input. It's just so important. And people get all up in arms when people across the street tear down a house and put up four or five, and it just changes the whole complexity of their neighborhood, and then they want to get involved. See, this is
Yeah.
the thing. It's so personal to people.
Yeah.
But those of us that are still left here, we cannot abandon the opportunity, if there is still an opportunity, to be a voice for the public, because we obviously have some time to do it.
I went to the volunteer appreciation dinner that the county has once a year, and it was like an AARP reunion. You
Yep.
know, and when you can be denigrated for that, but if it weren't for those of us that are older, a few resources, the time and interest, there would be nothing happening in the volunteer world. So, on one hand, uh, seniors are one of the marginalized groups, and we want to stand up for seniors until they are active and making too much noise. And then we don't want them because they're privileged white people that are, retired. And so there's a profound paradox in the thinking that goes on about older people.
Yep.
And yeah, so we will never get young people with families and jobs to be as involved as we are, because we are fortunate to have reached this age with our wits about us by and large, and the time and inclination to do this. And so one of the key problems with the CPO program in the past, in my opinion, is that it didn't offer anything fun to do. There was nothing interesting. There was nothing compelling. It was only when you got mad did you get involved. And so CPO leaders really have done extensive anger management. And I can't count the number of times I could have recalled a county commissioner based on the initial uproar that somebody was creating. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's how I got
Hot dog
involved.
picnic.
That's definitely how I got involved with this group anyway.
I think most of us got involved because we were sort of frustrated or upset about something.
Yeah, for me, it was the forest behind my house. It was like one day it was there and then the next day it was gone. And
It doesn't take long.
it's like the whole atmosphere of the neighborhood completely changed. And
It
so
does in a blink.
it changed so dramatically that yeah, a few of us just said, that's it. We've got to get involved and make some noise. And that's what we did.
And there's noise and then there's productive noise. Okay, so
Yeah.
Ayla, what do you got?
Yeah, so what I'd like to say first of all is that unfortunately our culture doesn't respect their elders enough.
Well,
And this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing in this time of our life, is guiding young people to pay attention to what matters. And I would say the two biggest enemies of anything really is apathy and ignorance. And
yeah.
those are the two things that we have to challenge us. There are young people that want to get involved. At the volunteer appreciation dinner, I sat with a table of gals who were working with women who are, needing to have a place to be from being battered and whatnot.
Family
Great,
Justice Center.
yeah, great girls just coming out of PSU and very enthusiastic. And so I think the question is, are we asking our young people in our community what matters to them? And a lot of times they don't know what to ask for. So we have to teach them things like, did you know that if you inherit 10 acres of forest zoned land from your grandpa, you can't build on it because of the land use laws in the state? I mean, things like this, their hair stands up. But until they realize how the laws of the land affect their immediate life, I deal with young people a lot trying to put a house on some land and live here. And it's very sad, the barriers they have to deal with. You talk about affordability and availability, and these young kids have an opportunity and it's squashed by the county, by the fees, the permits, the rules. And so,
Yeah.
we need to be those warriors and we need to be those teachers, and we shouldn't give up, and we need to hold each other up, because this is what we're supposed to be doing. So thank you for being here, and don't go. And I think we need to make that motion. I would like to move that we go to the next commissioner meeting and we request that it not be on the consent agenda. And I'd like to get a second on that and make sure we're doing at least that. And anything else, we'll take another motion, please.
Okay, so Ayla moved. To place R and O on regular agenda. Jim seconded. Got a vote? Okay, so Ken and Mary, I see your hands up. Why don't we use hands up to vote here for the 1, 2, 3. Moved around. Okay, I'm going to wait until you're all done raising your hands so I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Jimmy, you only get to vote once. And Mary, are you voting to do that?
I'm abstaining.
And 1 abstention. 2 abstentions. I'm going to abstain too. So we got 10 yes. Anybody opposed? Okay.
Ken,
24
So
participants,
2
abstained. We need at least 11 to be, we need 12 to be a majority.
why is that?
Or 12.
No, it's only voting members that you count, and that's 16.
Oh, voting numbers?
And it's people present.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 24.
She was counting the attendees.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So 11 is more than half of.
Okay.
Is that a letter that we write or what?
Well, I'm not writing it. It's beyond the reach of my fingers to take it on. Or we just show up and do it.
I'm going to be showing up and testifying and requesting it.
Well, isn't it something that we should shoot across their bow before the meeting?
Yeah.
Can we talk about it at the steering committee tomorrow?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Not just a letter asking for that, but maybe asking for a few other things.
Okay.
Among other issues we have are the mailing lists. We want to be involved in the process throughout the county administrative office. We want to have somebody who's tracking that whole thing. Reporting back to this group. We have each other's emails. We can continue meeting.
Well,
they want to dissolve this group, so this group kind of needs to keep going too. We got a lot of brain power here.
Those are all outside the motion and can be discussed at the meeting tomorrow.
So the CCI is being granted permission to meet, supported by the county, until the new program is announced. So it's the CPOs that are going to cease support after March, and the CCI will still have this same Zoom link, I'm assuming. Okay. So Ken, what does CBO 6 have to think?
Yeah, well, I kind of have the feeling that maybe we should have another subcommittee to figure out what our strategy is. I hate suggesting that, but it seems like we should put our heads together, whether it's all of us again on an offline kind of deal where we discuss how we're going to deal with this in the future. You know, I myself is sort of in favor of nonprofit, LLC. That's a good way to do this, perhaps. That could mushroom into something large eventually if we get enough members. You know, that we could morph into websites where one website, we could have one website and have different sections for different areas, geographic areas, things like that. So I guess my suggestion again is maybe we should just have a little committee of people that would want to deal with this and talk about it, and how we can deal with all of our inputs in the future.
Well, we can use the CCI meeting as time to do that.
Then we're kind of tied in with the county.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you'll notice that the county has not said a peep during our conversation.
It doesn't matter to me. I just think we ought to probably strategize on this a little bit deeper. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
I like it.
Ms. Manso.
There is always a steering committee that could dig deeper. I would really like to hear from the people who have not spoken. We've got Paul, Jill, Barbara, and Nancy that still need to speak their pieces, and I think we really need to encourage them. Although there are other people who want to talk, but I would really like to give them an opportunity. Just call on them and see if they have something to say.
And in addition, I'd like any of the attendees who are sitting there in the kind of cave-like world of a webinar, if you would like to say something, Jackie, Jean, Jim, Jocelyn, Kiana, Thomas, or Willie, if you would like to say anything, please raise your hand and we'll put you on. So where are we at here? Jill, you got any thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, yeah, I've been listening and agreeing with what we've been talking about, and I think that we should form our own LLC or nonprofit. And if any funds are needed, I've got funding available, so don't worry about that. So that's my input.
Well,
that's taken care of. Thank you.
okay. Well, that was good, Paul.
Don't have a lot to say. I've listened to everything that's going on, and I'm somewhat in agreement with most of the things that have been said. My feeling is that somehow we have to have a voice that allows others to hear what we're thinking. Earlier, you mentioned about being about volunteers, seniors being volunteers. Well, I'm sort of an Uber volunteer in the sense of I've been involved in several nonprofits and been in leadership roles in every one of them at one point or another. And I'm still very active in each of them, except for one, and that's fare boosters. That's the only one hasn't been a lot of activity.
Oh. We have not really touched on the boards and commissions. Okay, well, before we get to that, Barbara Brennan or Nancy Fletcher, either of you would be welcome to say as little or as much as on your mind.
I'll say something, I guess. I've mentioned before, I agree, we should do something like nonprofit. I'm interested to see once it's actually in place, the new, I guess, our replacement, whatever
Yeah.
it gets called. And let's just say somebody from the community came. I'm in the Aloha, that area, unincorporated, CPO 6. Let's just say somebody came and they were concerned. We had more recently about the housing authority is going to put a large complex in. So neighbors may be concerned. It would be nice if the county allowed us, still those of us who have learned quite a bit about the process, to help them. Because we could say, okay, can we take that, put your email address in the comments or do something so that I could then go out and work with those people. Maybe we can still do a little bit of that, and they might let us, but they may decide not to do that and just do it themselves. But sometimes people can use some help. What's the comment? What's the process? How do I write comments? Just different things that community members may be able to utilize some help.
Barbara unmuted, but now she's gone.
Uh-oh. Kind of that fat finger on the button. So, the people in the attendees, any of you would be welcome to weigh in with your thoughts if you want to raise your hand and do that.
What will you miss when we're gone?
Dum 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 dum. Jean. You have
Okay. Yes, I'm very new to this process, and I'm very disappointed that you seem to be endangered. So, the only other thought that I had is that if you could figure out how to do some kind of outreach to grade schoolers in Washington County and teach them about the county, and as that part of that education, teach them about what your role is in giving people a voice.
It's a good idea. I sort of extending on that, the parent-teacher organizations for each school would be great vehicles. And it's always been a disappointment to me that the county has not reached out to the school districts to get our message into the PTO announcements, because there is no greater force than the mothers of elementary school children.
Right.
Any other thoughts you'd like to share?
No, just that I'm very dismayed that you seem to be endangered, because I've just found you.
Oh, well,
How did you find us?
Honestly, I can't remember. I think it was through a Hillsborough community newsletter, maybe.
What CPO are you in?
I don't know. I'm in Hillsborough.
So CPO 9, yeah, CPO 9 is not active.
It's been very hard to figure that out.
Okay. Well,
contact your county commissioner. Let them know how disappointed you are.
Okay, I don't even know who my county commissioner is.
Well, 99% of the population of the county is in the same boat.
Well,
So
if you're in Hillsborough, you're in District 4, and that would be Jerry Willie.
Okay.
Or contact all of them. BCC, the email address bcc@washingtoncountyor.gov will hit all of the commissioners.
Okay. Washington County
it's BCC, Board of County Commissioners, BCC@WashingtonCountyOR. That's one word.
Okay.
.gov.
.gov. Okay. BCC@WashingtonCountyOR.gov.
Yes.
Okay. I will send an email. Thank you.
But until you find that CPO, you're always welcome to CPO 14. We would adopt you any day, because you're in our District 4.
Okay, Jill.
Okay, this is really interesting. We're talking about younger generations. There was an article, The Oregonian, The Opinion, last Sunday, And it was about how Gen Zers aren't talking and it could cost them. They're reluctant to engage in face-to-face conversations.
Mm.
And, you know, they're on their phones all the time. And it's true, when I go on my morning jog, I see the kids waiting for the school buses and they're all on their phones. And so they're afraid to talk in real life. So this would be actually a very good skill building place for them to come. And programs that boost conversation skills are rare but should be more widely available. So if we could explode this program into the younger kids and get them passionate, then it could really help with their communication skills. So there's a lot to be had from this. And this is a really valuable organization. So I'm really grateful to be part of it. So thank you.
Maybe even contact Oregon, the people who did that article, and talk about how this particular program could do that in response to that opinion.
Good idea.
Jim and Paul are waiting. You're muted, Bruce.
Go, guys, go.
Jim, unmute.
Just everybody on mute.
I wanted to point out kind of the absurdity of this district alignment. For the rural district, there would be, what, 5, 6 cities and a number of communities in it. You got Hillsborough, Cornelius, Forest Grove, Gaston, Banks, North Plains would all be in this one district. And see there, see, it would include a lot of things. And so it's just kind of odd, or I don't, I'm not sure what I want to say, but it's just odd to have that big a district. I mean, District 3, where I am, would include Tualatin, Tigard, Sherwood, Garden Home, and part of Cooper Mountain, I guess. So, and of course, Tigard and King City. So it's going to be interesting. It won't be as local as our meetings have been, and there won't be as many. So obviously, actual participation in meetings will be a lot less because there's going to be less than half the number of meetings. I'll
And the
stop.
reason the commissioners say they can't have a tree protection code is because it traverses all these different cities. And so it's too complex to deal with it at the county level. Well, guess what? They just dug themselves into another big hole.
Tiana over in the attendees has her hand up.
Oh, very good.
All right, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, I am Kayana. I am actually with the Aloha Free Press, one of the new places here in Aloha, just doing a little bit of online news. This piqued my interest because I started this last year, around the time when I went to my first CPO6 meeting like last year. So just kind of listening, I'll have to catch myself up on the issue before I write anything. But while I've got you here, is there something you would like especially here in Aloha, we don't have a lot of a voice anyway. What do you want to say as far as like encourage people to do when they find out like, hey, there's big changes are happening? What is something that people might want to do, or how do they use their voice as this process goes? I know there's some other meetings coming up. Are there places that people can give their public comment?
I wrote an article in in Cedar Mill News, January issue, that people could read. But at this point, about the only thing they can do is attend that January 27 Board of Commissioners meeting and sign up for a 3-minute comment at the beginning of the meeting.
Emails and letters to your commissioners also work.
Yeah.
You may not feel like you get any feedback, but I've heard that they're like, yeah, I got so many comments about this one issue, and they, it is good to get emails and letters in.
And that information is at the end of my article. I can't share a link here because we can't put anything in chat, but if you're familiar with Cedar Mill News, it's in the January issue.
Yeah,
And as
I
a
am.
publisher of a local newsletter, you should be aware of the Cedar Mill News.
Mhm, I am, yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
And I'm aware of you.
Oh, lovely.
And
And
it's a
so
great article.
there's also Charles Hundley, who's doing community news in Forest Grove.
I don't know if he's weighing in on this situation.
No, probably not yet. Okay. Thank you, Kiana. It's nice to have you here and joining us. I hope you can make it to the next meeting too.
Indeed.
So much.
Well, anybody else have any thoughts? So Fran and I were talking, and it is probably appropriate for the DLCD or LCDC's CIAC, the Community Involvement Advisory Committee, to be apprised of this. And I'm thinking that Sadie Carney, who's the liaison of the CIAC, might be a good person to attend next month's meeting. Fran?
I've already sent off a letter to her asking about the appropriateness of this decision. I copied the MO presentation. I didn't think to ask her to attend the Board of Commissioners meeting, but I will be following up with her on that.
Good.
And I've copied Bruce, you, Mary, and Jim on the email.
Well, you
I think
turned
Bruce was talking about having her attend the next CCI.
right, but that was not that invitation was not extended yet. And you turn your back on email around here for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, there's more stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, I just want to let you know that. Oh, and also Jimmy Jones is supposed to be the SIAC representative for Washington County. That's the name. I'm an at-large member of SIAC. So we actually have two people representing Washington County, if you think about it, but we never hear from Jimmy at all.
Who's Jimmy Jones?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Is that the guy that makes Subway sub sandwiches?
Yeah.
So anyway, bottom line, I didn't mean to drag this on, but I've already sent something out, and I like your idea, Virginia, and also Bruce, about inviting her to the CCI meeting as well as the January 27th meeting. But I first wanted to find out legality and this question that we had about funding, et cetera. You know, what leverage do we have, and what other things could or should the CPO program, the people that are doing this right now, what could or should we be doing to increase public participation, or at least keep it where it is in some way. So I'll keep you all informed. And if anybody wants a copy of what I do with the SIAC or DLCD, let me know.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Ayla.
Oh, I was just going to say, Kiana, you might want to check out what's happening with the Pod Village in Aloha in the unincorporated area. Their lease is supposed to be up in February. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually dismantle it and move it to the new facility over in Hillsborough. And Fran, to you, is the CIAC meetings open to the public to sit and listen?
Yes.
Could
I get the date and time of the next meeting, please?
Yeah, and actually our next meeting is going to be a joint meeting with the commissioners, the LCDC, the commissioners themselves. I won't be able to be there physically, but I can, because usually that's when you can get their ear, the people making the decisions. The DLCD are the people who implement what the LCDC decides.
Yes.
So the decision makers are the LCDC. So I'll give you both those dates, in particular this one coming up.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're not going to be
Google
there.
Jimmy.
I'm going to go with you.
I don't think that the state could have come with a more confusing nomenclature for those two groups if they tried.
It's
on
almost
Google Jimmy Jones, and he's in Salem.
Okay.
Wow.
So a little bit about how I'm seeing things. I am resolved to the dismantling of the CPO program. To me, it's a foregone conclusion. And no matter what, is my personal opinion that no matter what we do, the animosity between the county commissioner, between a majority of the county commissioners and county council pretty much makes it clear that the CPO program will cease to exist. The CCI, whether it's called that or not, will somehow be attached to the Planning Commission. I have spent hundreds, as Fran said, of hours trying to get ready to help this system evolve. And it is disappointing that the last 4 years of my life as I've chaired this group, that it's come to this. However, I have established connections in a variety of venues and organizations that will provide as good or better implementation of what we're talking about than what we have now, because the CPO program has been starved, strangled, and sort of thrown off the cliff in its administration. And I want to thank ICA for soldiering along and doing as much as she has. So this is really not a reflection on ICA at all. This is a reflection on we came along just when, everybody was getting excited about DEI. And I am a big fan of DEI. In fact, I'm on the DEI committee of the Master Gardeners. So at the same time, at that same time, the Advisory Committee for Racial Equity was formed. They are going through a process of trying to define what their mission is, what their goals are, and what they're supposed to do. We've been the chair of ACRE attended the CPO7 meeting. I emailed him to ask for his thoughts, and he hasn't gotten back to me. But to hear, Mary and I have been going to the ACRE monthly meetings, first Monday of the month, and they're altruistic, they're optimistic, and they are looking to see what they can do. And it sounds like if left to their own devices, they would essentially create a CPO resembling system.
Without the land use component.
But they in the world of racial equity, you're looking at a whole set of subjects that has nothing to do with the county. And the county has made it clear that if it's not a county specific thing, they aren't interested. And unfortunately, the population in Washington County needs a cohesive, citizen involved facility of some kind to create social cohesion and resilience. And it's beyond sad that Washington County has chosen to not do that. And I have not brought the subject up because I've been waiting for things to settle down at the county. But there's one issue after another, that has prevented my seeing an opportune time to do that. So I am willing to continue providing the chair for this group. I am unwilling to take an adversarial role of any sort between us and the county. So people who want to write challenging letters are going to have to write them themselves. And I will give you the CCI leadership thing, but the Washington County, the Oregon State Extension Service was offered the opportunity to take the CPO program back a couple of years ago, and they wisely declined. But the Washington County Extension Administrator is going to be going in front of the work session of the commissioners on February 3rd to make the case for establishing a tax base for extension in Washington County, which would allow a full implementation of all of the extension service programs to be offered to the residents of the county. Right now, there's one 4-H administrator at the county and 17 new 4-H leaders that want to form groups. The the and I talked about happy reasons to be involved, and everything that extension service offers people is happy. It's positive, it's uplifting, it has a positive effect. And so I'm going to be putting my efforts into getting a tax base to fund extension activities, and the a little bit of funding for extension then leverages a tremendous amount of volunteer work. And so I see leveraging volunteer work as something that we need to do. So just the short of it, I'm willing to host at my house a wake for the CPO program. And I wanted to mention the Harold Haynes Award. Harold Haynes was a professor of optometry in Forest Grove who I knew as a child. In high school, I went to our church, did business with my father's service station. He was a brilliant man, and he was very elite. He was instrumental in Oregon coming up with its current sort of approach to public involvement, which is why he was granted the Harold Haynes Award posthumously. As I think about Harold and my father's interactions, you'll notice we haven't been doing a Harold Haynes Award. I think that the time when he was recognized for what he did has come and gone, and and um, and he kind of subjugated my father a little bit. And so I admit to a little bit of I don't know if resentment is quite right, but
Ambivalent.
I'd let the award languish. And somebody, who was it that pointed out that the Harold Haynes Award has come off the wall in the county? So, the king is dead. There we go.
It just moved. It just moved. It's now by the elevators instead of by the auditorium.
Okay, well,
Okay,
I don't think that there's going to be any new names added to it unless we all nominate ourselves, and we're the last ones to be there. So,
wait, I just want to mention one real quick thing about the Oregon State University Extension Program. Tree keepers actually got two staff positions funded, two professors, half-time, are working on tree canopy and education relative to that, and tree stewardship, et cetera.
is that through their urban forestry or their
Yes.
forestry?
Yes. So Professor Sarah Lowe and another, I can't remember the other one, and so Professor Lowe is going to be helping me with developing this community stewardship program for tree stewardship, maintaining public trees as well as their own trees. So I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget that when you talk about the extension program.
Well, I can't not think about it. And Mary Lou.
This is sort of a personal question. Since you got personal, this is just a reaction to that. Is that is the reason you abstain frequently from these voting things that we have? Does that have anything to do with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have
Can
found
you just talk about that just a tiny bit? I don't want to be confrontational here.
Well,
I'm
the
just
reason,
after information.
one of the reasons the CPO program is being dismantled is because of the rogue behavior of a few CPO leaders. And I won't enunciate those right now, but county council and county staff has spent what they consider to be an inordinate amount of time dealing with rogue leaders. And I, in no way, shape, or form, want to be associated with rogue leadership of the CPO program, because the CPO program, while it's important to me, and I've devoted 25 years of my life to it, is not the be all and end all of how we create a resilient culture around us. And I think that the Extension Service provides a much greater likelihood of resiliency than anything that the county is going to undertake on its own. And therefore, I am protecting myself from, and the reason that Melissa DeLizer was put as the interface to LUT staff is because some CPO leaders were rough on staff, whether they knew it or not. And so the effects of angry rhetoric from CPO leaders has worked against us, even though it seems like we're fighting good fight and we're trying to prevail. Most of the time, it has undermined our position vis-a-vis the county. And I have that directly from Melissa, who now has retired.
Okay, just curious.
I mean, yeah. And so Virginia.
I move we adjourn.
Well, hold on. Jim has his hand up. And is muted.
I wanted to make sure that everybody understood there's going to be a CCI steering committee meeting online on Zoom tomorrow morning at 11, is it?
Well, I have a conflict, and we'll start it at noon. So I will mail out the change in time. I mean, I could open the meeting, I suppose, and let somebody else manage it. But I'm not going to be there until noon, reliably.
I'll try and have a draft letter by then.
Okay. And Mary?
I have a hard stop tomorrow at 2 because the CDC assessment TAC meeting is going to be between 2 and 4 tomorrow on Zoom.
Well, if the CCI meeting starting at noon is not done by 2, then it deserves to be ended.
Sounds good.
Hey,
Just
Bruce,
all
could you
quit.
get me that information on the February 3rd meeting with Extension?
Well, I don't have anything other than the verbal description of it from the extension director, and it's not on the commissioner's calendar yet. So it's a work session, probably around noon.
And where's it to be held?
February 3rd in the wherever the work session is held in the
So
work
it's not
session.
a commissioner
Public comment.
session? Okay.
Yeah, there's no public comment, but
No, I understand. No, I just wanted to listen.
yeah, me too. Okay.
Motion on the floor.
A second.
Okay. One heck of a meeting.
Thank
I
you.
think we're done.
Buenas
Thanks.
noches.
See you later.
Sweet dreams.
Made of these.
Good meeting.